Hello students, welcome back to a literature class. So, we have reached next act, that is Act 3 of William Shakespeare's drama Merchant of Venice. So in this video, we'll discuss Act 3, Scene 1. In Scene 9 of Act 2, we came to know that the Prince of Aragon is in Belmont to try his luck at winning Portia's hand in marriage. When brought to the caskets, he selects the silver one, confident that he shall get as much as he deserves. Inside he finds a portrait of a blinking idiot and a poem that condemns him as a fool. Soon after he departs, a messenger arrives to tell Portia that a promising young Venetian, who seems like the perfect suitor, has come to Belmont to try his luck at the casket game. Hoping that it is Bassanio, Portia and Nerissa go out to greet the new suitor. Okay, so this was all we discussed in scene 9. Now moving on to scene 1 of Act 3. We can first discuss the plot development of this scene. The scene is set in a street in Venice. Celerino and Salanio inform the audience about the development of events. From their conversation, we learn that one of Antonio's ships has been wrecked off the southeast coast of England. Salanio despairs twice, once because of Antonio's bad luck, and second time when he sees Shylock approaching. Shylock lashes out at Celerino and Salanio, accusing them of complicity in Jessica's elopement. They mock the moneylender when he complains that his flesh and blood has rebelled. Celerino tells Shylock of the rumor about Antonio's loss at sea. Shylock is pleased. If Antonio is unable to repay his debt, Shylock will have the golden opportunity of taking his revenge on him for the many insults inflicted on him. Shylock's contempt towards Antonio is expressed again, as he is determined to have Antonio's flesh strictly according to the bond. Celerino finds the penalty set by Shylock unreasonable because he does not comprehend the use of a pound of Antonio's flesh to anybody. Shylock enlists Antonio's offenses. Antonio has disgraced him, taken away his business, laughed at his losses, mocked at his gains, scorned his nation, antagonized his friends, and encouraged his enemies. Had not a Jew's eyes, had not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? Since a Christian always takes revenge for any wrong done to him by a Jew, Shylock would do the same to a Christian under similar conditions. He appeals to humanity itself against the vast injustice meted out to his race. Since now he has an opportunity, he will avenge his race and himself. His revenge on Antonio would be revenge of the entire Jewish race on the Christians. Celerino and Salanio now depart. Tubal, one of Shylock's friends, arrives on the scene. Okay, so Tubal, who is Tubal? Tubal, one of Shylock's friends, arrives in the scene, that is Act 3, Scene 1. He informs Shylock about Jessica's whereabouts. This enkindles Shylock's fury, and he curses his daughter for being a traitor to him and also his race. Tubal confirms the rumor of Antonio's financial ruin. Shylock feels happy over the prospect of having his revenge and asks Tubal to engage a lawyer for him. a fortnight before the bond falls due. So, children, in the scene, Celerino has heard that Antonio's ship has been grounded. Shylock is happy at the news and threatens Antonio. He also suffers a terrible pain over his daughter's betrayal. But he and Tubal discuss how to nail Antonio. Next, we can go through text and its explanation. Act 3, Scene 1, Venice. A street. Enter Salanio and Celerino. Now see children, in Act 2, in the last scene, that is Act 2 of Scene 9, that was the last scene, no. In that scene, the scene took place in Belmont. Now it shifts to Venice. Okay, Act 3, Scene 1, it's in Venice and it's also a street. So here enters Salanio and Celerino. Salanio and Celerino enter. They are in a conversation. Salanio. Now, what news on the Rialto? What news today on the shipping exchange? Rialto means shipping exchange. Okay, now what is the news on shipping exchange? Celerino. Why? Yet it leads there unchecked that Antonio had a ship of rich lading wrecked on the narrow seas. The Goodwins, I think they call the place, a very dangerous flat and fatal, where the carcasses of many a tall ship lie buried, as they say, if my gossip report be an honest woman of a word. So here Celerino says that, well, why yet it lives there unchecked? Well, the rumor is still not contradicted that Antonio has had one of his ships with rich cargo, rich lading means rich cargo, wrecked in the narrow sea channel, the Goodwins. So Goodwin means sandbank. Okay, so Goodwin means sandbank. I think they call the place. It's an area shallow and dangerous. Flat and fatal means shallow and dangerous, where the carcasses of many a tall ship lie buried. Where the wrecks of many a fine ship lie buried. As I say, if that well-known lady rumor be true in this case. Okay, if my gossip report be an honest woman of that word. So if that well-known lady's rumor be true in that case. So it was told that Antonio's ship was wrecked in the waters of the English Channel at a spot known as Goodwin Sand. It's the most perilous sandbank. The news about the shipwreckage spread at the Rialto, or the exchange, where merchants met for business transaction. Okay, so Rialto means it's a shipping exchange. It's a place where merchants meet for business transaction. Salanio. I would she were as lying a gossip in that as ever napped ginger or made her neighbors believe. She wept for the death of a third husband. But it is true, without any slips of proximity or crossing the plain highway of talk, that the good Antonio, the honest Antonio, oh that I had a title good enough to keep his name company. So children, whom does she refer to? You can see the usage here, the pronoun she is used. Why is she used here? Or whom the playwright indicates she? In the here, she refers to the rumor or report. Okay, listen carefully. She refers to rumor or report, which is personified as an old woman. Okay, she here refers to rumor or report, which is personified as an old woman. I would she were as lying a gossip in that as ever nabbed Ginger. So I wish the rumor about Antonio's ship should be as false as the tales told by an old woman. What tales old woman used to say? Nab ginger. Nab means nibble ginger, chewing ginger. Or made her neighbors believe she wept for the death of a third husband. Or this old woman, she shed the tears on the death of a third husband. But it is true without any slips of proxility. Proxility means lapses into long-winded, tedious speeches, but it's true without any speeches or crossing the plain highway of talk that the good Antonio, the honest Antonio, here Salanio considers Antonio as a good person, as an honest one. Oh, that I had a title good enough to keep his name company. To keep his name company means to add to his name. So here Salanio says that I wish I knew an adjective worthy for his name. You all know what an adjective is, modifying noun. Okay, so here he want to give Antonio a good title. So I'll repeat this dialogue once again. In this line, she refers to rumor or report which is personified as a tattling old woman. When Celerino talks about Antonio's ship, Salanio only wishes that rumor may prove to be a big liar in this case, as any old woman who ever gossiped with her neighbors over her gingerbread cakes and made her neighbors believe that she mourned sincerely for the death of her third husband. So in this extract, Celerino and Salanio expresses their feelings of concern and sympathy for Antonio. Salanio calls him good Antonio, honest Antonio, and he wants a better adjective to describe him, to describe Antonio. Finally, Salanio conveys the news that Antonio has lost a ship. Celerino, come, the full stop. Come, put an end to this preliminary talk. We can stop our conversation. We can stop our talk. Salanio, ha, what sayest thou? Why, the end is he hath lost a ship. What do you mean? Oh, the sum and substance is that he has indeed lost a ship. Celerino, I would it might prove the end of his losses. I hope it may be the last of his losses. So Salanio conveys the news that Antonio has lost a ship. Salanio, let me say amen betimes, lest the devil cross my prayer for here. He comes in the likeness of a Jew. So betimes means in good time. Cross means prostrate. So Salanio says, let me quickly say amen to that prayer before the devil is able to frustrate it. Who is the devil here? Jew, Shylock. Before the devil is able to frustrate it. For here comes the devil in the form of a Jew. Devil has come in the form of a Jew. So let me say amen in good time before the devil comes. Enter Shylock. How now, Shylock? What news among the merchants? Hello, Shylock. What's news today among the merchants? What is the news today? What is the news today about among the merchants? Shylock, you knew? None so well as you of my daughter's flight. So Shylock replies, you know quite well. You both know quite well. None so well as you two. Both of you know so well like than others. Okay. Both of you, that is Celerio and Celerino, knows very well than others that my daughter has run away. Celerino, that's certain. I, for my part, knew the tailor that made the wings she flew withal. So Celerino, in accordance with Shylock's answer, he says, that is sure, that is certain, that is sure. I myself know the very tailor who made the suit of clothes in which she ran away. So I knew the tailor here. Celerino says that I knew the tailor means I knew Lorenzo. Okay, it's an inner meaning. I knew the tailor that made the wings she flew with it. I knew the very tailor who made the suit of clothes in which she ran away. The meaning of wings is given here. Boy's dress. We all know Jessica as eloped with Lorenzo as she guised herself in the dress of a boy. Then fledged. Next, look at the next conversation. Salanio. And Shylock, for his own part, knew the bird was fledged, and then it is the complexion of them all to leave the dam. The meaning of fledged is fully feathered. Complexion means nature. Dam means mother bird. Okay, dam means mother bird. Now, Salanio. And Shylock, for his own part, knew the bird was fledged. And Shylock, for his part, knew that the young bird was fully fledged. Okay, young bird was fully fledged means ready to fly. Okay, if the feathers is there in the young bird, or if the young bird is as fully covered with feather means it is able to grow. Okay, now it's time to grow. So that the young bird was fully fledged and that it is the nature of all young birds to leave the parent. Dam means mother bird. Okay, and Shylock for his part knew that the young bird was fully fledged, means ready to fly, and then it is the nature of all young birds to leave the dam or leave the mother bird. Once again, I'll repeat this, children. The bird was fledged, because this is important, so listen carefully. The bird was fledged, and then it is the complexion of them all to leave the dam. So these words mean that it is the nature of a fully feathered young bird. Okay, fledged means fully feathered young bird to leave the nest when it is old enough. When it gets old, it is the nature of a bird to leave the nest. He means to say that Jessica was old enough to run away with her lover Lorenzo. I hope it is clear to you. Okay. So this means that Jessica was old enough to run away with her lover Lorenzo. Shylock. She is damned for it. Shylock says, well, she will be damned for doing so. She will be damned for doing so means she will be damned because she has eloped with Lorenzo. She has run with Lorenzo. Celerino, that's certain if the devil may be her judge. That's certain if she is judged by the devil. Shylock, my own flesh and blood to rebel. Well, for my own blood relation to turn against me. My own flesh and blood to rebel means my own blood relation had turned against me. Okay, because Jessica is his own daughter. So that daughter has turned against him, has turned against her father. Celerino, there is more difference between thy flesh and her than between jet and ivory. More between your blood than there is between red wine and Rhenish. But tell us, do you hear whether Antonio have had any loss at sea or no? So meaning of jet and ivory is black and white. Rhenish means white wine. Okay, Rhenish means white wine. So Celerino says, there is more difference between thy flesh and hers. There is more difference between your flesh and her than her is between black and white. Like black and white. Jet and ivory means black and white. Like black and white, there is more difference between your flesh and hers more difference between your blood and hers than there is between cheap common wine and best Rhine wine. Rhenish means white wine. So there is more difference between your blood and hers than there is between cheap common wine and the best Rhine wine. Okay, so here Celerino is trying to judge between Shylock and his daughter Jessica. Okay, there is difference between Shylock and also Jessica, because your flesh and hers, that there is difference between black and white. Like black and white, there is a difference between your flesh and hers. Then there is difference between like cheap common wine and the best Rhine wine. There is difference between your blood and hers. Then Bataille, yes, do you hear whether Antonio have had any loss at sea or no? But tell me, have you heard whether Antonio has lost a ship at sea or not? Okay, whether Antonio have had any loss at sea or no? Tell me, have you heard whether Antonio has lost a ship at sea or not? Shylock, there I have another bad match, a bankrupt, a prodigal, who dared scarce show his head on the Rialto, a beggar that was used to come so smug upon the mart. Let him look to his bond. He was wont to call me usurer. Let him look to his bond. He wont to lend money for a Christian courtesy. Let him look to his bond. There I have another bad match, a bankrupt, a prodigal. So Shylock says, there I have another bad bargain. Bad match means bad bargain. There I have another bad bargain, a bankrupt, a spendthrift. Prodigal means spendthrift. A person who spent money unreasonably. Okay, prodigal means a person who spent money lavishly. In the previous scene we have, do you remember this? Whom did Shylock call prodigal? Do you remember that? Yes, Shylock considered Lancelot as a prodigal son. Do you remember that? Yes, so Shylock says, there I have another bad bargain, a bankrupt, a spendthrift who dare hardly show his face on the exchange. Scarce means hardly. A beggar, he used to come smiling, so self-satisfied. Okay, so self-satisfied, into the market. Smug means self-satisfied. Okay, so a beggar who has used to come smiling, self-satisfied, into the market. He had better see that he fulfills his bond. He used to call me usurer. What is meant by usurer, and who called who as usurer? Yes, Antonio used to call Shylock as an usurer, and usurer means a person who lends money at unreasonably high rate of interest. Let him look to his bond. He used to call me usurer, and he used to lend money free of interest as an act of Christian kindness. Let him be careful to redeem his bond in time. Let him be careful to redeem his bond in time. So children, Shylock was pleased to hear about the loss of Antonio's ship. He calls him a spendthrift and a beggar. Okay, he calls him a prodigal. Prodigal means spendthrift, and he also calls him a bankrupt. He also calls him a beggar. Okay, bankrupt, prodigal, and also a beggar who used to come smiling, who usually approached me in a smiling face. So smug. So smug means so self-satisfied. To the market he used to come. Mart means market. Okay, so he used to come to the market with a smiling face. That bankrupt, that prodigal, that beggar. He must take care to redeem his bond in time. He should take care of the bond, to pay the money in time, to follow the bond in time. Celerino, why I am sure if he forfeit, thou wilt not take his flesh. What's that good for? Well, I am sure that if he fails, forfeit means fails. If he fails, you will never take his flesh. What good would that be to you? So Celerino is asking to Shylock, if he fails to pay, if he fails, you will never take his flesh. You will never take the pound of flesh. What good would that be to you? What is the good for you then if you take the flesh? Shylock, to bait fish withal, if it will feed nothing else, it will feed my revenge. He hath disgraced me and hindered me 500,000, laughed at my losses, mocked at my gains, scorned my nation, thwarted my bargains, cooled my friends, hated my enemies, and what's his reason? I am a Jew. Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions, fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same disease, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by same winter and summer as a Christian is? If you pick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we will resemble you in that. If a Jew wrong a Jew wrong a Christian, what is his humility? Revenge. If a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferance be? By the Christian example. Why revenge? The villainy you teach me, I will execute, and it shall go hard, but I will better the instruction. So children, this conversation or this dialogue of Shylock is very, very important. Listen carefully. So in reply to Celerino's question, Shylock says, I will use his flesh as a bait for catching fish. His flesh, who is his flesh? Whom he referred to his flesh? Antonius. Okay, I will use his flesh as the bait for catching fish. If it is good for nothing else, it will satisfy my revenge. Okay, if it will feed nothing else means if it is good for nothing else, it will satisfy my revenge. He has insulted me and made me suffer losses of 500,000 ducats. He hath disgraced me. He has insulted me and hindered me. Hindered means caused me to loss. He suffer more losses of 500,000 ducats. He made me suffer losses of 500,000 ducats. He hindered me 500,000. He made fun of my losses, ridiculed my profit, hated my nation, spoiled my business. Thwarted my bargains means business. Okay, spoiled my business, made my friends cold towards me. Made my friends cold towards me and encouraged my enemies against me. And all this for what? Because I am a Jew. Why he has shown all these kinds of misbehavior towards me? Only because I am a Jew. Hath not a Jew eyes like other men? Jews are same like other men, no? Tell me. Has he not hands, physical organs, bodily forms, senses, desires and passions? So these all things Jews also have. Is there any difference? If he not nourished with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, affected by the same disease, recovered by the same medicines, warmed and cooled by the same summer and winter as a Christian is, we too are similar like Christian. Tell me, If you pierce our skin, do we not bleed? If you pierce our skin, can you see the blood in you? Inside our skin also the blood is flowing. If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you tickle us, if you tickle the Jew, do they laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you give us some poison, we will die. We the Jew will die. If you injure us, should we not take revenge? So, if you insult us or if you injure Jew, should we not take the revenge? So this is very, very important, children. This is the famous dialogue of Shylock. This is the trial scene. If we are like you in all these things, we should resemble you in taking revenge too. Okay, we should also take revenge against you. If a Jew offends a Christian, what does he do? He takes a revenge. If a Christian offend a Jew, what kind of reaction do you expect from him according to the Christian example? Why? It should be revenge. I shall carry out the evil lesson you teach me. I will be more malicious in revenge. So Shylock, from this dialogue, we understood that Shylock is more concerned, is always conscious of being a Jew. Okay, he is so much revengeful. Shylock speaks of Christian humility with deep sarcasm. Humility, he says, he is much talk of Christian virtue, but the virtue is not much practiced by Christians. The humility of a Christian, he says, ceases when a Christian is harmed, for then he takes revenge. That is Christian's solution, and that would also be Shylock's solution to wrong if he had suffered. Shylock too will do wrong if he gets suffered. So this is a revenge from me. Okay, so we can see three passions. Shylock's passion for revenge, passion for money, and also passion for his race and religion. So Shylock produces one of his most dramatic speeches from "Hath not the Jew's eyes" to "If you poison us, do we not die?" So the speech completely silences Shylock's tormentors and is a prelude to Shylock's final decision on how he intends to deal with Antonio. So from this dialogue, we understood that what he intends to deal with Antonio. What is intention to deal with Antonio? Enter a servant. Servant. Gentleman, my master Antonio is at his house and desired to speak with you both. So servant enter and he says, Gentleman, my master Antonio is at his home and wishes to speak to you both. Salarino. We have been up and down to seek him. We have been everywhere searching for him. So enter Tubal. Salanio. Here comes another of the tribe. A third cannot be matched unless the devil himself turn Jew. So one of a person named Tubal enters. So Salarino says, here comes another of the Jews. He is a Jew. We could not find a third to match these two unless the devil himself were to make up the company. Exeunt Salanio, Salarino, and servant. Three of them exit. Shylock. How now, Tubal? What news from Genoa hast thou found my daughter? Well, what now, Tubal? What news from Genoa? Have you found my daughter? Tubal. I often came where I did hear of her, but cannot find her. I went to several places. I often came from several places. I have searched several places where they gave me news about her. And from that place I got the news. People told me about her. They gave me news about her, but I was not able to find her. But I was not able to find Jessica. Now children, who is Tubal and why did he go to Genoa? Tubal is another Jew. Okay, Tubal is another Jew. He is also a friend of Shylock. He went to Genoa to search for Jessica, who has eloped with Lorenzo. Okay, Tubal went to Genoa in search of Lorenzo, and he brought the news that he went to several places in Genoa where he heard some news about Jessica but could not find her. Shylock, why there, a diamond corn cost me 2,000 ducats in Frankfurt. The curse never fell upon our nation till now. I never felt it till now. 2,000 ducats in that, and other precious jewels. I would my daughter were dead at my foot, and the jewels in a year would she were hearsed at my foot. And the ducats in her coffin, no news of them. Why so? And I know not what spent in the search. Why thou loss upon loss? The thief gone with so much and so much to find the thief, and no satisfaction, no revenge, nor ill luck stirring, but what lights on my shoulder, nor sighs but of my breathing, no tears but of my shedding. So here Shylock says, well there, a diamond lost that cost me 2,000 ducats in Frankfurt. Our nation never suffered so heavily under our ancient curse until now. I never felt its effect till now. 2,000 ducats in that alone, and many other precious jewels. I wish that my daughter lay dead before me. So he is wishing his daughter's death as long as the diamond were in her ear, because she has stolen diamond from me. I wish that she were in her coffin before me as long as my ducats were in her coffin. So children, see Shylock. Only a father like Shylock can think like this, can say like this. He is willing his daughter's death. Okay, and at the same time he is considering both these things equal. He is we think that or we feel that Shylock is much more concerned with money, with jewel, with diamond, okay, than her daughter's life. Have you no news of them? Why this loss for me? And so much spent in the search. Oh, what loss upon loss! The thief has stolen so much, and now so much has been spent in trying to find the thief. No satisfaction, no revenge. Every bit of ill luck that is around seems to fall upon me. I am the only one who has to give out sighs of grief. I alone seems to have to shed tears. Here's means in a coffin. So children, Shylock in this dialogue uses the expression satisfaction and revenge in the context of his efforts to retrieve his lost money and eloped daughter. His daughter Jessica has stolen money, precious stones, that is diamond, and many other jewels she has stolen. His effort to locate her and retrieve them have not succeeded. Okay, he had not succeeded in finding out both his daughter and also precious jewels, that is wealth. So he has neither the satisfaction of getting back his lost daughter and money, nor taking revenge on the Christians who caused her elopement. Tubal. Yes, other men have ill luck too, Antonio, as I heard in Genoa. Oh, other men also have bad luck, Antonio, as I heard in Genoa. From Genoa, I heard that Antonio had bad luck. Shylock, what, ill luck? What? Has he had bad luck? Tubal, hath an Argosy castaway coming from Tripolis. Argosy means a large merchant ship. So Tubal says he has had one of his merchant ships wrecked while coming from Tripolis. Coming from Tripolis, he has had one of his merchant ship wrecked. The castaway means wrecked. Shylock, I thank God. Is it true? Is it true that one of his One of his argosy has cast away, has wrecked. Tubal. I spoke with some of the sailors that escaped the wreck. I spoke with some of the sailors who were saved from the wreck. Okay, I spoke or I talked with some of the sailors who were escaped from that wreck. Shylock, I thank thee, good Tubal, good news, aha, where in Genoa? So hearing this, Shylock thank Tubal. I thank you, good Tubal, that is a good news, aha, where did you meet them? In Genoa? Tubal, your daughter spent in Genoa, as I heard, in one night 80 ducats. Yes, I heard that in one single night in Genoa, your daughter spent 80 ducats. Okay, so your daughter spent one night in Genoa and there she spent 80 ducats. Shylock, thou stickest a dagger in me. I shall never see my gold again. 80 ducats at a sitting. 80 ducats. So Shylock says, that news pierces me like a dagger. I shall never see my money again. 80 ducats at one time. 80 ducats. Tubal. There came divers of Antonio's creditors in my company in Venice. That's where he cannot choose but break. Divers means several. Okay, several of Antonio's creditors traveled with me back to Venice and they all said that he cannot avoid going bankrupt. Shylock, I am very glad of it. I'll plague him, I'll torture him, I am glad of it. Shylock says, I am glad of it. I shall persecute him and torture him. Oh, I am glad of it. Tubal. One of them showed me a ring that he had of your daughter for a monkey. So Tubal says to Shylock, one of them showed me a ring which he got from your daughter in exchange for a monkey. Shylock, out upon her. Thou torturest me. Tubal, it was my turquoise. I had of it leave when I was a bachelor. I would not have given it for a wilderness for monkey. So Shylock says, shame upon her. You torture me, Tubal. So this is very, very important. So actually Tubal is torturing Shylock. That was my turquoise ring. What is meant by turquoise ring? A greenish blue precious stone. I had of it leave when I was a bachelor. My wife Lee. So what was the name of Shylock's wife? Lee. My wife Lee gave it to me before I married her when I was a bachelor. Before I married her, my wife Lee gave it to me. I would not have exchanged it for a regiment of monkeys. I won't exchange this for a monkey, to a monkey. So here Shylock expresses his deep anguish when he hears that his daughter has given away his dead wife's ring in exchange for a monkey. So she is expressing his deep anguish here, deep hatred here. At the same time, this also shows Shylock as an affectionate husband and as an old widower who fondly cherishes the memory of his wife. Now children, how is Tubal said to be torturing Shylock? Think about this. Tubal is said to be torturing Shylock by giving alternate accounts of Antonio's losses and Jessica's extravagance. Then he alternately makes Shylock elated and depressed for apparently no reason. He elates him by the news of wreckage of Antonio's ship on its way back from Tripolis, while he depresses him by saying that he could not find Jessica and that she had spent 80 ducats on one evening, and he has also said that Jessica exchanged a ring with a merchant for a monkey. Tubal, but Antonio is certainly undone. But Antonio is certainly ruined. Undone means ruined. Shylock, nay, that's true, that's very true. Go, Tubal, fee me an officer. Bespeak him a fortnight before I will have the heart of him. If he forfeit for weary out of Venice, I can make what merchandise I will. Go, Tubal, and meet me at our synagogue. So, good Tubal, at our synagogue, Tubal. Shylock, that's true. That's very true. Go ahead, Tubal, and engage a lawyer to handle the case for me. Fee means, fee me an officer means, please engage a lawyer to handle the case for me. Bespeak him a fortnight before I will have the heart of him. Engage him a fortnight beforehand. I shall cut. If he fails, if he forfeit means if he fails. I shall cut Antonio's heart out if he fails to meet the bond, for if once I could get rid of him out of Venice. Merchandise means profit. I could make as much profit as I like. Go ahead, do it, Tubal, and then meet me at our church. Synagogue means Jewish place of worship. So you go ahead, Tubal, and do it. Please search a lawyer for me. Please keep a lawyer. Please search a lawyer and you may go. And then we'll meet at a synagogue. And synagogue is a Jewish place of worship. Exit. They both depart. Next, we can discuss the significance of this scene. Children, this is very, very important. So you can note it down. Copy this in your notebook. Significance of the scene, Act 3, Scene 1. This is the pivotal scene of the play. Pivotal means this is the important scene of the play. It is a harbinger of the trial scene. It is a prelude to the climax of the play. So, this is important. It is a prelude to the climax of the play. What is meant by prelude? Prelude, it is an introductory performance, action or event preceding and preparing for the principal or more important matter. Okay, so here this scene acts as a prelude to the climax of the play. The magnificent outburst in which he vindicates the essential quality of human condition in the Jew and the Christian is born of the blood and tears of centuries of martyrdom. Shylock appeals to humanity itself against the vast injustice meted out to his race. They may be Jews, but they are human beings. Shylock is infuriated over the elopement of his daughter and the money which he took away. He suspects the hand of Antonio behind this. He is in full fury to wreak revenge on him. Shylock wins our sympathy due to the oppression on the Jewish race. The scene ends in an extraordinary mixture of comic and tragic suffering of Shylock. So this scene is also important in the case that the scene ends in an extraordinary mixture or combination of both comic and also tragic suffering of Shylock. Comic in his horror over Jessica's extravagance, tragic in the anguish of his Jewishness has suffered. Okay, we have said comic in the sense that Shylock's horror over Jessica's extravagance, and we can say tragic in the anguish his Jewishness has suffered. Okay, he is an affectionate husband and an old widower, fondly cherishing the memory of his dead wife. Before we wind up, let us once again recall the scene. So the scene shifts to Venice. Salanio and Celerino meet. We learn from their conversation that Antonio has suffered heavy losses. Rumors are rife about the loss of his ship at sea. Antonio must be careful, for if he fails to pay Shylock at the right time, he will be entirely at the mercy of the Jew. Shylock enters now and charges the two friends of knowing about the whereabouts of his daughter Jessica. Celario tells him of the rumor about Antonio's loss. The Jew is very pleased that his enemy is bankrupt and is determined to make him pay according to the bond. His wrath or his anger knows no bound, for Antonio had always criticized the charging of interest by Shylock. Celerino is amazed that Shylock will demand a pound of flesh. The Jew said that it could be used as a bait for fish or to satisfy his lust for revenge. He complains whether he is to be deprived of his right to live because he is a Jew. If a Jew wrongs a Christian, then the Christian seeks revenge. Surely, therefore, a Jew can seek revenge for the wrong done by a Christian. Next, Shylock appeals to humanity itself against the injustice meted out to his race. They may be Jews, but they are human beings. Since now he has got an opportunity, he will avenge his nation and himself too. Celerino and Salanio now leave. So here comes Tubal, one of Shylock's friends, and tells him that Jessica is in Genoa. Shylock becomes furious. He curses his daughter. When Tubal tells him that Antonius threatened with complete financial ruin, he exults over his prospect of having revenge. He asks Tubal to find out a lawyer a fortnight before the bond is due. Okay, so this is all about scene 1. So children, read the textbook thoroughly, study well. Thank you.